Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is a different video on this occasion. This is going to be based on an official driving test in Crawley. Difference with this being is I'd never been to Crawley before, certainly not for a test. One of my pupils went on test in May and they had never driven around Crawley before, nor had I, so this was new. So this was quite different. This is not like you're driving in an area that you're familiar with. My pupil was completely unfamiliar with this area, and I thought, you know, they actually done okay considering taking a test in a totally unfamiliar driving setting. So anyway, as we're coming out the driving test centre, this is a fast moving test route, as is Crawley as a whole. Really, a lot of fast roads. There isn't too many 20s, but there's a few 30s, but other than that they're 40s, 50s and national speed limits. So it's quite a fast flowing test route. But if you're looking to take your test, or if you took your test a while ago, I'd like you to really observe this other than the test route itself, and actually see how you think you would fare if you didn't know these roads, in the fast flowing roads. Could you conduct yourself in the same manner, possibly, as this pupil is doing on roads they're unfamiliar with, and all the hazards that therefore come with it? Okay, so as they're approaching the roundabout, check the centre lane, because left lane is for left only. Nice. Checking to the right, all pretty good. Keeping good lane position. Now going in from a 30 to a 50 limit, so the speed's already picking up. Doing that actually approaching a roundabout, no less. So increasing the speed just as you're coming up to quite a major junction. Now the pupil has noticed that they're actually in the wrong lane, but the thing is they change over to the right, but they conduct it properly with mirrors and indications. If this wouldn't have been the case, it would have been noted down on their result paper. So as they're moving forward over the M25, I think that is, yeah, or M23, M25, it's M23, coming up to set of traffic lights. They've chosen the centre lane for here, M23 at Crawley. It could be because of some instruction from the examiner. Now obviously note, like most of my videos, they are muted to protect, certainly on tests, the pupil and the examiner, as there is no permission for their audio. That is respected. As we're peeling off, we're now going into a national speed limit, and I noted when the pupil went into this road, they're on the right hand side. Default driving is the left, of course, but what happened here was there was cars on the left, so they couldn't pull in immediately. It's a matter of doing it properly and at the correct time and good timing, matching the speed of the Mini on the left hand side, quite nicely done, and then brought it in. Yeah, nice flow. Then it changes to a 50 there, so you can be easily missed, but they did reduce the speed and they did bring it down to a 50. I don't think the lorry got the memo about the 50. So through the lights, peel off a left there, but we're going straight on. We're coming up to another roundabout. It's a matter of getting in the correct position early enough. So he's obviously been given instruction of where he's going at this point. And look at that, national speed limit as you're coming up to roundabout, just like the last roundabout. There they are. So giving you national speed limit just as you're slowing down for a major junction, i.e. the roundabout. Watching the lane you're in as well. This is a right only lane. The roads flow here sometimes if you're not familiar with them, lots of lines going on. Got to make sure you're in the correct position. Feeding round here, again looking to leave at the next exit, and has kept it in the right lane as it feeds to the left, and I'm sure he'd done all the necessary measures in observations. Again, otherwise I'd be aware of that and he would have been marked accordingly. As we're going down this road, he's matching traffic speeds, braking accordingly, so all things are looking good at the moment. Keeping a reasonable distance from the HGV up front, not too close. And as the lorry moves off, letting the lorry get away and then moving off afterwards, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Sometimes, as you know, when people move off at junctions, they tend to, when they see lights change, they tend to move before the vehicle in front is moved, and that's not really a particularly good idea. So it's nicely done there, nicely thought about. Nice flowing road. Just a matter of being observant when you're going down roads like this, when nothing too much is happening. Just pay attention to any signs that might be relevant and your speeds. And we're coming down to another light. Nice progressive slowdown. Nice stop again. Good distance between the lorry. Lets the lorry get away again before moving off. This is really good. So far, no problems. Anybody picked up any minors yet? And how would you fare at this stage if this is you on your test today, if you had to retake your test? How would you fare? Straight away getting into the appropriate lane depending with the direction he's going, where he's turning right. Good distance on the lorry again. So he's paying attention, being observant. Here goes the lights change. Is he going to let the lorry get away again before moving off? Oh, it's just straight on actually. The right lane hasn't changed yet. Ooh, I thought that lorry on the left there was going to shoot through that red light. Braked a bit hard there. Wasn't too much planning going on approach, but at least it didn't run the red light. How often do we see that going on? Yes, and so he lets the lorry get away again as he moves off. Nice. Keeping it flowing. Back into a 40. Keeping on those people on the left looking to cross. And he gets his first pull up on the left hand side. That seemed pretty progressive and okay. Now, as we progress further off, when he starts to move off a little further up the road, I'm going to set a timer under the text, top left here. And I'm setting the timer for a purpose, actually. As I've already seen this video, and there's something I just wanted to really highlight on here. So you'll see the timer kick in, and then I'll explain why I put that on. It's in relation really to changing speed limit. Approach another roundabout again. Good, nice, gentle, progressive braking, checking to the right, trying to time it nicely so you can flow into the roundabout, and that was nicely done again. Keeping their position on the outside of the roundabout, and they're in a left-only lane. And he's moved directly out of that because he's not going left. Good, done nice and early. Then it goes for a straight on. So on this particular occasion, approaching that junction, so you got left only on that left lane and then straight on here. So position on the road is a little bit different, certainly what we're used to driving around in our local area. So there's differences here in road markings. So you see a lot of lane changing going on. So got to be looking at a lot of signs and road markings here to get this correctly, and always considering the correct observations and indication as well. Okay, so as we're getting closer, we're coming up to a speed limit change. There'll be a sign on the left hand side showing the speed limit, and then I'm going to set a timer off. It's just coming up on the left just about now. You'll see it, and there it is saying it's 30. So I'll set the timer off, and the reason I've set this timer is want to show how long before we see another speed limit sign. So we're in a 30, and we're just going to let this clock run, because this is quite important, I think, or it has a very good basis on this actual test. So with a lot going on the road, as you can see, quite built up here, bus pulling out, reacts nicely. But all the time, remember, when these pupils, these candidates are on these tests, they've got to be looking at all road markings, signs, lights. Is a lot going on. It's harder. It's quite hard these days when taking a test. There's a lot of pressure on their shoulders because, if they're to fail, they would have a long wait before they could actually retake their test again. So, you've got to feel for these learners. The pressure is really on. Now, as we're going through these green lights, we're already at just over a minute 15 seconds, and we haven't seen a speed limit sign yet. Now, as we're traveling down this road now, we're coming up to just over 1.5 minutes. And then in this road here, my pupil thought that this was a 40. It's still the 30 limit, of course, and showing you with the timer underneath how long they stayed at 38 miles an hour. It was 9.5 seconds, and unfortunately that means it was a fail. So he got one serious fault for doing that. He wasn't aware of it at the time. But as I've left the other clock going, we're still looking for a speed limit sign since we got that 30. So he hadn't had one for quite a while. He may have thought he missed one because it wasn't exactly a built-up area. They're getting ready to pull over again. I'm just going to let that clock run. There's no point just stopping it for the moment. It's only going to add like another 10 seconds or so onto the clock as they're moving on. Okay, they're getting away successfully negotiating the Royal Mail, and we're heading up towards sort of 3 minutes, and we still haven't seen a change in speed limit sign. How much further we're going to go? There it is, 3 minutes 5 seconds on the road, and to the left it changed to 20. Just as we go through here, giving way, what do you reckon? Should he have waited for that taxi maybe? It didn't try and slow down at all on approach. He thought he had enough space. He didn't get marked down for it. So there you go. The examiner thought it was actually okay. I personally felt maybe he should have waited, but that's me. I'm a little bit harsher than the examiners when I come to teaching. Nicely creeping there to keep things moving. So we're dealing with side roads at the moment, so a lot of hazard perception on here. How are you lot doing at home with this test route? Roads you're not familiar with. Do you think he's made any extra mistakes? How many minors do you think have achieved at this point in time? Do you think he's getting his timing right? More to the point, what do you think of the route? But although you know the candidate's already failed because of going 8 miles per hour over the speed limit, it's 8 miles per hour and it is what it is. Harsh? Well, personally, I think it is for what it was, because according to him, he said the intel from inside the car actually said it was a 40. But you know what these GPS little markers are like in the car. Sometimes they're not always correct. I do tell my pupils not to follow them. Use them as a guide, but don't use them as a rule of thumb. You should be paying attention to the signs on the road and the road markings. And if he would have done that, he would have realised that the last sign he saw was a 30. It had been a while though, good couple of minutes, wasn't it? May have thought he missed one maybe. Doing the manoeuvre now, they've got a parallel park to do. Quite a tight little road, so no one could get past anyway. And the parallel park went okay. There was no marking down on that whatsoever. It was nice and controlled, nice and slow. Quite a tight little road. Keeping an eye on that little white car as it's coming forward. And they're now getting right out the way. And that was done. Yeah, easy as that. Nice and smooth. Making sure we're doing the proper checks as you go by. Watch the person crossing the road ahead. Keep scanning for those hazards. Slightly blind bend. Get straight away back to his own side of the road. And getting him to pull over again. They do this now 4 times on a driving test. They are considering reducing that to 3 from 4. I think they're looking to introduce other measures within the test, tweaking the test somewhat. Good, nice bend there, nice and smooth. Paying attention, park cars, check right down the road, out nice and early. It's good. This is, you know, this is really good stuff. It's a shame about that speed, but bearing in mind he didn't know it at this time that he had gone over or he had done anything wrong, so he's still fully focused. Again, out nice and early, watching on this 2 junction. Notice there's no stopping. They're very, very slow and controlled at the giveaway lines because they are giveaway, and it's all about making progress and making progress safely. Not always having to stop at the T junctions if it's unnecessary. Same there, nothing coming from their right, nothing untoward, making progress again. So although they had some fast roads here, this is where they're bringing in sort of the urban driving, I suppose. He hasn't had to contend with too much here, which, let's be honest, for a test candidate, it's it's probably exactly as I like it, as how I would like it, that's for sure. The less vehicles around, the less it's going to get in your way, or people are going to get in your way, and you're going to have to react accordingly. So it's nice when there's, let's be honest, not too much going on. So a hazard here to deal with. Enough room there to get through. Back to another T-junction. There was obviously some cars coming from the right there. They may have turned down in the road that we're pulling out of. That's why the delay. That certainly wasn't hesitation. So a nice open flowing road again. So the examiner's obviously done with driving around in the urban element of the test and getting back to the big flowing roads again. Or are we? National speed limit again. No markings on the road here. I can only presume that this is coming up to, yeah, there you go, up to a faster moving road, because it seemed a little bit odd to put a national speed limit on a road, you know, which wasn't too wide there. So back onto a nice big flowing dual carriageway, and he has no hesitation in getting up to speed with everybody else. So anybody thinking of doing a test in Crawley, unless you're familiar or like or prefer fast moving roads by the most part, then otherwise I would avoid having a test in Crawley. But if you're okay with speed and lots of lane changing, because that's what I think he experienced very early on in this test. So he's approaching another roundabout. So it's a matter of doing your proper checks, knowing where you're going and being proactive as you approach, slowing accordingly, getting your lane positioning correct. And I think he's been keeping his lane position lovely and central. He hasn't wandered at all, and that happens a lot actually. But people are so focused on what's going on around them, they sometimes lose positioning in the road, and he's not done that. Minor hesitation there, I think, because there's a car that shot out coming up from his right. Risque or not, he felt that was not the correct thing to do, and he held back for that black car to pass. I always say, if in doubt, don't. Because you can't afford to make mistakes on the highway. They normally end up in accidents. So if you've got any doubt when you're driving around, you're a little unsure about the pace of something, it's always best to hold back. We like to flow where we can. So another nice open road again. Crawley's got a lot of open roads. There's the examiner moving the sat nav. You saw the reflection there on the glass. So on this point of the road, it's really a matter of just paying attention, keeping within the speed limit, and not getting too close to any vehicles. But there's not too many vehicles on our side of the road. There's one in the distance, so you can just flow nicely here at the correct speed limit. Just as it looks like we're coming back up into the built up area again, the town of Crawley. So it was obviously scouting around the outside there. Back down to a 30. Another roundabout again, left lane, left only to peel off. A lot of roundabouts around the Surrey area, they tend to have left lane is left and straight on. But around here I've noticed, certainly on this test, that a lot of the left lanes are just left only. There is no straight on. So that was certainly a major adjustment that the pupil had to make on this test. And I think they accommodated and adjusted very well where that's concerned. So how have you lot fared then? How do you think you would have done on this test within this area, given the route that you've actually seen thus far? I think this route here is medium to tough. There is a lot going on, and if you're certainly not familiar with the roads, and the candidate wasn't, first time around here, I think he had done exceptionally well, and he certainly didn't deserve to fail, I don't think. It's a nice open road. Cool. No cars, look, nothing at all. So you like it? Yeah, I was very disappointed with the result, but I thought I would show you the route and see, and certainly for people that are looking to take tests, and if they've got the ideas of taking it in Crawley, what they're likely to face. There's no real set test routes. I mean, there's so many different roads these days. This is one of many test routes, but it does give you an overall idea of what you're going to come up against if you have a test in Crawley. And the overriding aspect I've seen is that the roads are fast moving. There's a lot of open roads here, and the road layouts and markings are slightly different. From where I'm in Surrey, I don't know how it is across the rest of the UK. I mean, I'm sure you go to other areas, they would be possibly the same or equally different, and it's what you get used to. But as we, and I'm not, and he certainly wasn't used to the market set out in the manner that they were, certainly with all these left feed-offs directly being left. Yeah, that takes a little bit getting used to, but I think he'd done that amicably well. Nice flowing bus lanes we've got here though. Not having to stop too much, that's for sure, unless they're picking up people, of course. So we're coming towards the end of the test now. And it's a nice flowing road heading back towards the test centre again. Now that bus coming up from the bus lane like that and undertaking as they did, interesting. It goes straight back into a bus lane again, but should it have undertaken like that? Because where it undertook there was no bus lane. Candidate handled it well, of course. Obviously saw the bus coming and probably just lifted off the gas to let it through. Felt it was coming up a little bit quick. There we go again, that left lane for left only, which feeds off rather nicely there. Yeah, so if you're a lover of dual carriageways, I reckon this is a good test centre for you, but it does come across as harsh. I showed you at the point that my candidate, my pupil, failed the test. And considering the overall drive, which I felt was good, considering it's an area he didn't know, I thought the overall drive was exceptionally good. Great distances between the cars, lane changes, nice, keeping up with speed limits. Here we go back into the national speed limit again, and as before, he won't hang around. He will make progress and he'll get up to the speed limit, or at least to a correct distance from the vehicle in front. And he's been doing that all test. So certainly the last 10 minutes of this have been some very open flowing roads. And it's important, even while driving down these roads, that you keep the car nice and central, not too close to the curb and not too close to the centre white lines. I do get that with pupils sometimes. The faster they go, they can wander a wee bit, but that is just coming down to experience. Coming down to a 50 again. Ironically, it says slow on the road at 50. Wow. Peeling off here, heading in the same direction as the van. We're now just on the closing stages of the test. It's back over that original M23 again. And it's into the last section, last couple of roundabouts. Already getting all the way to the left hand side. Still making good progress. Not as quick as that numpty on the right hand side though. No need to be done that quick. But then probably they're a local. They know what's ahead and are driving accordingly. A bit more experience about the flow of the roundabouts, I suppose. Coming up to the last roundabout, just before pulling into the test centre again, keeping an eye on anything coming from the right, still flowing, still keeping to the outside of the roundabout. I think it was overall nicely conducted, and the test centre is just on the right hand side, and we are going to pull in there, and that will be the end of the test. So there you go. You've seen the test in Crawley. It is a fast moving test. It has its challenges. But the thing you've definitely got to pay attention to are the speed limits. They change quite a lot, as you can see, and most of them are quite quick. Certainly if you live around the Surrey area, or certainly in the London area, and you're having a test outside of London to an area like this. So word of warning, this test centre is relatively strict. And at this point here, he gets the information accordingly. Okay, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was a bit of an eye-opener for you. And I look forward to seeing you on another video soon. Bye-bye for now.